future-proof your marketing. So we're going to just jump straight into a Mentimeter question. So if everyone's got your phones there for me. So what's your business's number one source of business? So answer this one honestly. There's no right or wrong answer. It's not a trick question. We just want to see kind of where the room's at. Perfect. 7. Mostly referrals. A few people running ads. 17. A few more people still to go, or? Cool. So mostly referrals. So Pete, can you just grab a photo of that? Because I'm going to come back to that at the end. All right. So while Pete was taking that photo there, I know what you're all thinking, and it's, where's this young bloke's socks? But after today and the future of marketing, next month I think you'll all be here with no-show socks on as well. But that's just my way of putting a little joke in there to lighten the mood. So I was going to go over a few points here, but I have met pretty much most of you in this room so far. There's a few new faces, so I'm just going to skip over this one. Cool. So there's one key thing that any marketing activity needs to start with. That one key thing is knowing exactly who your audience is and where they hang out. So I hear it all the time from businesses that, Ryan, look, I'm not doing much marketing. Or Ryan, my ideal customer just isn't online. And Ryan, most of my business comes through referrals. As we just saw from that Mentimeter question before, pretty much everyone in this room here, and that's digital surfer included, get a lot of your business through your networks and referrals, which honestly isn't a bad thing. However, when things slow down and the future of marketing keeps on evolving, how you're doing your marketing is going to have to change just in order to keep up. So before we look at what the future of marketing holds, we need to take a step back and look at what it's been like before and how that's evolved into today's current market. So when we step back, we can see it's quite clear to see how marketing has evolved over the years. It's gone from your more traditional marketing methods to a more mostly all online approach. So does anyone here remember that thing called a phone book? Yeah, well that would be your Google business profile today. And that's the same with a range of other marketing methods, like an ad in the newspaper, which would have been your Google Ads account, or doing a mailbox drop, which can be replaced with an email marketing campaign. Even SEO has changed in the last few years, with Google no longer being just your top 10 blue links. There's now more ads, more featured snippets, and even AI being integrated directly into search engines. So with that, I do have another question, but we're not doing Mentimeter for this one. So I just want a show of hands, and I've got a few more questions throughout where I'm just going to put my hand up and want a bit of a show of hands. So with this one, just a show of hands if your business has ever used one of these more traditional marketing methods, whether that be an ad in the newspaper, or you've listed yourself in the phone book, or maybe you've done mailbox drops. Cool. So even though we've used methods like that before, most of you probably aren't doing that today. So is anyone else, hands up, are you still doing those methods today, or have you moved on? Still doing a few? Yeah? Which ones? Mailbox drops. How did it go? Not very well. There we go. Perfect. So just like those methods, in the next 1, 3, 5 years, your marketing is going to have to change. So what does the future of marketing look like? Well, the younger generations are searching differently, and the way that they buy things has changed. It's taking a lot longer and more touch points in between before they're ready to make a purchase. Gen Z starts from about 1997, and the interesting thing is Gen Alpha is from about 2011. So believe it or not, I actually fall into that Gen Z category. But if you think about your business, it's quite normal to set those goals, business goals, you know, those 1, 3, 5-year goals. Well, in 5 years, that Gen Alpha is going to be 19. And in 5 years, well, I'll be well into my 30s. This means that your ideal client in 5 years could very well change. So take a real estate agent, for example. Their current marketing might be aimed at more millennials who are taking a linear approach to searching for things. But fast forward 5 years, when Gen Z and Gen Alpha are in their home buying stages, well, the way they search for things isn't magically going to change just to suit what that real estate agent is doing now. This means that you need to be across even more platforms just to be able to reach that younger audience. So, here's an example of how people have previously kind of bought things online. So generally, it'll start with a Google search for something. Maybe it's something that you're interested in buying or you've seen somewhere else, and you'll search Google for a topic. From there, you'll find a great website, which is usually ranked in the top 1 to 3 positions, which, if it's got a good design and some decent content, you'll probably end up moving on to converting. Does anyone in here kind of typically search like this? You know that you want something, you kind of go directly there and you end up converting. No need to waste any time. Cool. Well, the way people have typically searched for things has been quite linear and followed a top to bottom approach. But obviously it's not that simple, but this is a good visual just to see kind of how things were and how they still are, but the younger generations are obviously doing things a little bit differently. Okay, so what is the younger generations doing? So when they're looking to find or buy a product online, typically they'll start by searching on Google, or they might find a brand that they like on social media. From there, they will move over to the website, which, by the way, needs to be exceptionally well designed and have targeted content that resonates directly with them. From there, they're heading over to Instagram, where they're going to stalk all of your images, everything that you've got on there, all the way back to 2015, and who knows what happened in 2015. From there, they're moving over to watching hours and hours of TikToks. So when they're on TikTok, they're watching videos from your brand, from other brands, third-party videos that who knows what they are. Just going down an endless rabbit hole of watching TikToks. And then they'll finally move on to reading some reviews. So they've found a brand that they like. They'll read some reviews from, it might be from your Google business profile, LinkedIn, or it might be from Facebook, all those different platforms that have reviews. But it also could be from third-party sites that maybe you don't have much control over. And just when you think that they're about to convert, well, bam, they're back on TikTok, watching again, and hours more of TikTok. Once you get through this kind of stage, hopefully then they'll move to your website and convert if you've still got their attention by that point. Not really a simple process anymore, is it? But look, when I say this example, I'm not really saying that your business needs to be on TikTok or you need to be on Instagram. It's just an example, and the platforms here will change depending on where your audience is and where they might be in the future. Take Pete over there for an example. So he's the owner of Digital Surfer, and he's about to hit a big O birthday this year, but I won't tell you which one that is, because he probably won't like that. So he's usually a big Facebook guy, and it's taken me months and months, but I've finally got him on the TikTok train. And much to his disgust, he actually really likes it. So if you want to talk about TikTok, Pete's the man to talk about. So we've got this image. We're just going to do a quick case study, which this is actually a real life look at what my life looks like every single time that I need to take my girlfriend out for dinner. And this is her actual buying behavior. So it's not to just say that it's a pretty graphic on the screen, but this is actually what she does. So usually she'll find somewhere on Instagram, whether that be a post that she's found or someone sent her something of a restaurant that she likes, and then proceeds to send that to me and says, we need to go here. Then she's moving on to TikTok. From there, she's watching loads and loads of videos of both the brand and other people that have been there, looking at what the atmosphere is like in the venue, looking at all the food. From there, then she'll go and Google the website, find the menu, and she's already picking out what she wants to eat. God forbid they don't have what she wants to eat. But remember, this is all before she's even made a booking. So she's already picked what she wants to eat before we've actually even booked a table. So now imagine this, but for a large decision, like getting a mortgage, getting legal advice, or something that your business offers. This means that if your online brand isn't up to scratch, then you may not even get that initial booking, or the phone won't be ringing. And this leads us to what you need to be doing to keep up with the future of marketing, and how to diversify your marketing so that you can keep up with that younger generation. And when looking at the most important thing for diversifying is not to put all your eggs in one basket. I know most of the room here said we're in the referrals basket, but what happens when something goes wrong, or you have a PR nightmare that causes you to lose all that goodwill that you've built, or just simply it's just a bit slow at the moment? Well, this means that you should be expanding into multiple different channels. That way you can utilize your online presence and expand it further into other areas, so that when you are a bit slow, you're not just left there sitting, twiddling your thumbs, waiting for the phone to call. So let's jump into how you can actually expand your online presence and create a truly lasting online brand. Again, it all starts with knowing your audience and where they're going to be. And again, that's also who your audience is going to be in the next 1, 3, 5 years, because that could very well be different. As I mentioned earlier, if your audience is in a certain age range now, well, when that younger generation gets there, there's only one question that I have is, will you be ready for them? It's not really a case of when, it's kind of, or if, it's kind of when. So to help you get inspiration for what you need to do for your marketing moving forward, a really good way to do that is looking at your competitors, and then also looking at what channels they're in, what strategies they're running, because chances are if they're seeing success in a certain platform, it's probably a good sign to say that you should be there too. One good example as well is being able to diversify your content. So making sure that you're delivering it in more than just written content on your website. This might mean that you need to invest in video, audio, visual, still your written content, but really looking at your audience and seeing where their kind of mix of content comes in, because people are taking in content in different ways now. And a good example of this is optimizing for voice search. So Peter over there recently had a phone call from a plumber down in Melbourne, and he's on the phone going through everything, discussing his goals, what he wants his new website to be like, and then Peter finally gets to that long question of, well, where did you find us? And he found us through voice search. So he was legally blind, didn't have or couldn't utilize obviously his vision, so he's searched via voice, with whether that be Google, or I'm not going to say the other one because my phone's going to go light up and say, what do you want? So that's a good example of voice search and how that's actually been used in real life. And what was once a simple Google search is now becoming a more complex question that people really need to have that personalization and continue to actually get more personalized responses rather than just your typical search that you might find. All right, so telling you that you need to be in all of these channels is the easy part, but what should you be doing once you've actually got them all set up? So as you can see here, this is a few of our digital surfer accounts across our website, just Google search in our Google business profile, Instagram and LinkedIn. So one thing that you'll notice is that across all of our platforms, there's a consistent brand and theme that runs across them all. The main difference here is what we post on each platform will be a little bit different, and that depends on the platform and obviously the audience. So if we're posting on Instagram, it's going to be more visual and a bit lighthearted, but if it's on LinkedIn, it might be more professional and still a little bit visual, but less so than Instagram. Now, why does this matter? It's all about controlling your narrative and making sure that you're controlling what people see of your brand. It's not enough today to just have a website and that's it, because as we saw before, people are searching across different platforms and taking longer and longer to make a decision. So we don't want to leave that up to any third parties to give that narrative for you. When a prospective client finds you, especially the younger ones, you really want to make sure that their perception of you across all platforms is going to be the same, and then that you're actually showing them that that brand is consistent no matter where they find you. Now, does anyone remember the first slide that I showed you that kind of skimmed over and it was of me winning an award? But that wasn't just to brag, but it was strategically placed there just to show you that controlling your narrative is really important. Subconsciously, whether any of you noticed it or not, it's built a certain level of trust and also allowed to spark interest into what I have to say today. And this is really important when it comes to your brand as well. If it's a good point that if you need to tell someone something, just tell them. Don't rely on them knowing or assuming that they know what you're wanting. All right. So I've got a couple of case studies. These ones are just going to back up kind of the few points that we've made and basically show you in the real world why it's important that you diversify your marketing mix, and then also why having a consistent brand is really important. So recently there was a ban on TikTok. Did anyone in here hear about that ban on TikTok? Yep. Probably didn't affect anyone. It actually, funny story, because I lived in America for about 5 years. So my TikTok account when I set it up was in America. So I was actually banned from TikTok for 48 hours or so. So that was a bit annoying, but I can see where the American businesses probably would have struggled. Something you might not know on TikTok is this thing called TikTok Shop. It's not here in Australia, but it is coming. But in America, people are able to sell directly on TikTok. So whether that be through live streams or just videos or affiliates, they can actually sell their products directly on TikTok without someone having to go to their website. It takes like 1 or 2 clicks and they're pretty much ordered and it'll be shipped to your door. And that's generating businesses in America millions and millions in the last year or so. But imagine now if your business's main channel was turned off overnight and you were losing millions. What would that do for your bottom line? The next case study is some work we've done for the Gold Coast Suns. So this was extremely hard to find their hospitality website. So this first example down the bottom here before, you can see that's how their hospitality website showed up in Google searches. So it was hosted under their Salesforce account and had the domain site.com and just Chairman's Club, but very hard to find that and not a consistent brand message at all. Fast forward to now, after our campaign, we built them a new website and brand SEO, and now they show up with a consistent brand across search engines and also on their website as well. But now you can see that it's actually got their proper domain, which for such a big organization is a really big thing. It might not seem like it, but just to have that trust of your overarching organization showing up in Google searches makes a big difference. But if we look at this further, it's not only just a visual upgrade, it's also showing that their messaging is more towards their brand voice as well. So showing that they've got their premium reserve seating and their awesome match day experiences. So, another Mentimeter question. So, grab your phones out. And then after today, we just want to know, what is your business's number one opportunity for growth going forward with your marketing? Still referrals? A few more answers there though, which is good. So a few for SEO. How many have we got? 11. Facebook ads, social ads. Still referrals, which is still good. Referrals won't go away, but it's just about diversifying it. Interesting, Google ads down the bottom. Google ads is quite expensive these days, so if it's not right for your business's audience, it's definitely not the greatest option sometimes. But it's good to see that we've got a bit of a different mix now, which is really good. So what we're going to do now is I just want you guys to take a few minutes around your tables, just have a quick chat around what marketing you're actually doing at the moment, and then if there's any opportunities that you see in the future that you can implement into your business as well. So have a quick chat, and I'm going to pick on someone afterwards to see what their kind of table has discussed and if there's anything different to hear that you might have come up with that is an opportunity for your business. All right. So does anyone want to share what their table was talking about? I will pick on someone otherwise. Whoever I think looks like the most talkative person at the table. Any volunteers? Yeah, Colin. What was your table?
I think ours really started with, I guess, knowing your market.
Yeah.
Going in here, they have all the demographics, so they know where their market, their audience is.
Mm-hmm.
They do a lot of traditional sort of media.
Okay.
And over here, their focus is sort of recruitment. So
Yeah.
building, sort of showcasing that culture aspect on LinkedIn and Instagram and whatnot.
Awesome.
For us, we utilize all those sort of channels.
Yeah.
So it's depending on what our goal is, we have different sort of strategies for each of those channels.
Perfect. Cool. Anyone else? One more? Yeah.
It's actually quite funny because this topic is something that our business is actually doing a lot of work on at the moment.
Okay.
Been around for 60 years, and generally most of our business comes through RFQs that we don't have to chase.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been quite steady, but as you know, you get those ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
One of the things, and now that we've got two branches being Sigma and JE, we're actually looking more on that marketing side. So we've
Okay.
started to do up our websites,
Mm-hmm.
have a look at competitors and what they do, and
Yeah.
started to make our websites more like theirs.
Awesome.
Yeah, meet the team and those kind of things. And then we moved into exactly what you said, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
where we do a couple of posts for each business each week, and got a platform on LinkedIn. So those two things have done. So
Awesome.
we're just building out at the moment, and then we'll see if, what fruits come of that.
Mm-hmm.
More additional leads. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess over a 60-year period of being in business, has your organisation seen that shift of where your ideal client might be one thing, but obviously over time it's gonna change? I would assume it's probably starting to change again.
One of those things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're heavily mining and that fell off the cliff, which is
Mhm.
overnight. So
Yeah. So you had to diversify and figure out where you can pick that up. Cool. All right. So, since we're all now keeping up with what the future of marketing holds, and we've established that what you're doing today might not be what you need to be doing in the next 1, 3, 5 years, there's just a few points that if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, remember these ones. So number one is you've got to diversify your marketing efforts. It's not enough to just rely on one channel solely anymore. And this can also mean that, again, diversifying what kind of material you're actually putting out there. So whether that's video, images, audio, having a good mix of all of those. Number two, the younger generations, they're just searching differently. The way they buy things, the way they look for things is just different. And the excuse of that they're not your ideal client, well, it doesn't really matter because they will be your ideal client one day. And number three, keep a consistent online brand and make sure you control your narrative. Don't leave it up to your customer to decide for you what your brand is. Make sure that you actually tell them what your brand is and control your narrative and tell your story. So, thank you. That's me done.